Well, what I thought was very interesting about your presentation, that it evoked two very different feelings in my heart. One was fear and one was hope.
All right.
Because biotechnology for me as a green, it is something dangerous. In the first place, I think, well, there's this big industry in there and they are doing all for profit. On the other hand, I thought it was very interesting that you presented an approach how people can reappropriate this technology and make it more democratic. So how do you think, can we still avoid all the danger if we just put it in a more democratic space?
Well, I would say that you won't never avoid danger working with technology. It's always dual use. And you will never actually remove greed also from the human nature. However, putting technology in the hand of communities that are not governed by hierarchy, let's say, but that are really self-responsible and self-organized, and that it is mostly based on strong values, ethical values of respect, and not only respect of human nature, but respect of the environment around them. And then I believe that the way those technology will be used and will be evolving will be much better than in the hands of the current actors. Yeah. And what I saw during the last years is clearly actually an interesting path for innovation biotech, where we saw many projects that actually was more interesting than the one we could find in academia or in private industries, because again they would actually deliver the knowledge and the know-how to everybody. So here the goal of this movement again is to enable anybody to gain access to this new technology, to reclaim it and to use it for its own purposes. But usually here its purpose here is for the global, the better.
The benefit of all.
Yeah, the benefit of all, exactly.
Well, I think it's an interesting concept, and I was really I admired also this code of conduct or manifesto. On the other hand, if we are looking right now at what is happening in the world of the internet, I was a techno-optimist at times. I was one of the people who actually thought of the internet as being the medium that brings democracy, that brings possibility to involve everybody. And the Hackers Manifesto, you most probably know, goes in just in this direction, some positive techno-anarchism. And I just asked myself, when we're looking forward in 20 years, will there be a crude awakening like there is now in the world of internet, also in the world of biotech?
Well, it's true that when you look at trends in general, you always start with white hackers doing it for the global good, the common good, let's say, then appear using the tools that those white hackers created, actually more negative, hackers with more negative intentions. And I believe
most probably the biggest problem is not the hackers, the black hats, but the enterprise world and the governmental world that took over.
Well, maybe it's being idealistic, but here, if you provide all the necessary tools to the population to really assess the real impact of the technology, here speaking of biotech, and if you give it the power to actually to operate, this knowledge and to counteract, then I believe we can achieve some kind of equilibrium, and I mean,
So you would say that every technology put in the right societal context would be able to be used at the profit of all. Because my question is, aren't there techniques, and I think also of biotechnique, that cannot be controlled because it's too complex to control it on a democratic basis, democratic level?
Yeah, but there will always be counterpowers, and biohackers and biohacking in general is one of those components essential for the apparition, the birth of this counterpower for biotechnologies, and it's important to declare what are the danger, about certain, certain technology, but as it is right now, most people don't understand anything about biotech. Yeah. It's too complex, and the space between what is real right now biotech in the labs and what we show to the citizens, it's enormous. Yeah. And we are mostly using metaphors to explain stuff, which actually provides a lot of opportunities to mix up ideas. And
well, you are just offering another metaphor, by the way. I mean, you are also offering a metaphor. You are saying, okay, we can use the technology to the good of all by doing it in another context. And this is, I mean, this reminds me that the basic question which always comes up if we talk about science, is there a neutral science? I mean, if you are doing science, can you say, I am doing basic research and others are doing, they apply it somehow, but it's not my responsibility?
Again, it's endless question, I would say. A tool can be used in many ways, and it comes back to the debate of, should we provide necessary information for somebody to evolve a synthetic virus? Mm-hmm. And here, the global goal is to advance knowledge. Oh. And the best way to advance knowledge is to share it again. And so, and if we start actually using censure, I don't know if it is the right word in English, it's going actually to create a discrepancy and between actually parties that have this knowledge and the others, and that is probably worse than actually sharing even dangerous knowledge to everybody. Because
I would agree, because I argument the same way, that censorship if it comes to weapons technology, etc. And on the other hand, it's also like giving you guidance about what you are doing. If you say, I might not do this because I have to publish it, and if I publish it, it would probably be misused and be dangerous. So it gives you some guidance.
Exactly. So here, I think it's part of the global scientific process. It's controlled by the peers. Yeah. It's important that when something is done, when it can be actually observed independently by somebody else that is not part of the same group, then usually either it brings sometimes an interesting point of view that can complement it, or it can bring up probably something that will maybe a use that nobody else would have thought out. And again, you cannot fight the fact that you can use any kind of technology negatively. However, you can provide the good setup for people to understand how they can use this technology. And again, it's all about where is the frontier. and how do you actually empower people to self-respect that limit? And the best way to do that is not to force them to respect this limit, but it's to let them do it by themselves, as they probably will better at acknowledging this frontier because they observed it, the real implication, than by just putting a red line on something they don't understand.
Yeah. Well, what I was asking myself, and probably you have the answer, is this primarily a scientific project? Is it about really giving new uses, about practical use? Or is it probably even art?
Well, it's probably a bit of all. We certainly discover by doing experiments in new stuff. For example, the fact that this ink, this biological ink, has the ability to change colors is something that we never found in any paper. We could only find a proof of it in one of the very first paper 80 years ago that was describing this bacteria. And so, yeah, it's interesting how, because you attack a new problem, a problem with a new direction, a new point of view that is completely different from what academics will do, then it can bring up interesting observations. And then, yeah, it's about art. I'll say that because it's freely available for anybody is free to express themselves with those technologies. And most of them will do it for the fun. But originally, I would say that if it is not an artist doing it on purpose, most of the projects we have in the community is with the goal, are made with the goal of creating new tools. So it's not really fundamental research. It's more applicative research. Here we try actually to bring a way for people to better acclimate themselves to this new technology, so that it becomes more, more reachable and more easy to grab as a concept. And so, yeah, I would say it's a bit of both, but most certainly more applicative than fundamental research. And yeah, definitely there are a lot of art in the way people express themselves with their project. And that's part also of the hacker community in general. Okay. You clearly showed an interest in this new approach of biotech. And would you be ready to help actually such initiative to be created in your region? And I mean, not only personally, but also politically. Because creating such a space of freedom where everybody is welcome, as LabHealth is, for example, clearly it asks for a lot of sacrifice and a lot of benefits from local powers. And for example, LabHealth is able to arrive in central Paris thanks to the City Hall of Paris. And otherwise, we wouldn't have the funds for doing this. Yeah. So what's interesting here is that we clearly see the interest of that kind of space. And now the question that, would you be able, as a political power, to express a global interest, maybe a regional interest in that kind of approach? I know Zurich is a very, very dynamical region for research and especially in biotech. So how would you react to such, for example, if somebody would come to you and ask some help?
I would say that this is, for me, this is necessary, that there are local activists who are really supporting it. I wouldn't do it like some kind of offshore development or some kind of like a parachute, some activists. But if I'd see a real interest, and if I'd see that those people are ready also to not only, let's say, do their own stuff, but let others participate and grow thereby also the public debate about the technology, then I would be more than willing to try to help secure either locations or other kind of support. Naturally, I wouldn't be able to decide by myself, but I would happily lend my name.
Fantastic.